Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the all-new Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. Before we end this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Toyota here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this TRD Pro. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Mitch. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 278 horsepower and then 265 pound-feet of torque. Now before we go to the front end, I do want to mention if you see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. And then I also want to mention that this just got off the transport truck, so that's why it's a little bit dirty. Okay, this is actually hilarious. But anyways, you guys can see we've got a hood scoop there, which has this amazing like brown finish to it. Okay, that's just the dirt. But we do have a TRD Pro logo there. It's a matte black decal and it looks pretty cool. And then coming down below, you guys can see here with the signature LED lights there. Notice this is Pro there at the bottom of the light, which is pretty cool. We got the rigid fog lights. We've got the Heritage Toyota logo in the center with a sensor below the logo, and there's actually a little camera above the logo as well. We have our aggressive TRD bash/skid plate here on the front end, and then there's also some tow hooks. And putting it all together, it's a really good looking truck. And also, if your TRD Pro never looks like this, then that means you're not using it for what you should be using it for. Coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 265, 70, 16 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see we've got the TRD Pro specific wheels. Notice you've got like the red accenting, then the rest of the wheel is all blacked out, and quite a bit of sidewall on those tires. And then this is where some of the real magic happens with the TRD Pro. So we have TRD tuned shocks and suspension. The shocks are Fox brand. They're the 2.5 internal bypass shocks. And well, here's a kind of a better look at the whole setup right there. And then on some other stuff, you guys can see Tacoma is blacked out there on the side, and then we've got TRD Pro here on the bed, and then still have leaf springs there in the back, and there's the rear shock. But putting it all together, this is a really good looking truck when you look at the side of it, especially again with those aggressive tires and wheels. So here's a key fob for the TRD Pro. We have our unlock and our lock function. You got the Toyota logo there on the back, and yeah, pretty simplistic. Now with the tailgate, it does slow lower down, which is pretty cool. Very, very slow lower down. Now you guys can see here with the bed, this has the composite bed. We got LED lights as well. We also have the Tacoma mat, so it's got like double protection. And then we also have an outlet here in the bed as well. And if you're wondering, 990 pounds of payload capacity. Actually is kind of heavy. Now you can see here with the taillights, you got some black accenting on them, and then another TRD Pro logo here on the back, Tacoma stamped on the bed. Everything's all blacked out, and you know, this is where it looks the most normal. Just like look at it dead on and you're like, that's just like any other Tacoma. Now here's a door panel in the rear. You guys can see here with all of the padding, and then your window control, and then you've got quite a bit of storage there on the panel. And then popping over to the seats, you guys can see the design there in the center, and then look at the red stitching on the seat as well. I almost forgot, you got the behind the seat storage, so just pull that forward and there you go. And then being a mid-sized truck, it doesn't have the best leg room, but you know, you can still fit people back here, and then you got some cup holders in the back as well. And then headroom's pretty solid. Keyless entry. Now with the front door panel, you guys can see again all of the padding. We've got all of our window controls, and notice the front two are automatic. Your door lock and unlock, the mirror adjustments. The mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and there's the panel. TRD Pro here in the headrest, and then you can see again that cool design in the center with the red stitching. It's kind of a TRD Pro color. And then you've got all of your power adjustments on the side with the lumbar, and then yes, Tacoma TRD Pro on the floor mat with the little tire mark on it. This is for the camera system, your stability control, stuff for the lights, outlets, and then the cargo light as well. So here is our steering wheel. You guys can see really nice leather trim. It's actually perforated on the sides, so you can get a slightly better grip. And then you got some controls for the center stack. You've got like your adaptive cruise control with your lane keep assist. We've got our voice command volume controls as well. Turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock. And then here is the center gauge cluster. You guys can see mostly analog with the gauge cluster. We do have a screen here in the center which we can use to scroll through different bits of info on the truck. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and we also have that bird's eye view as well. And you guys remember I showed you guys that camera button earlier. Well, if I press that yet again, now you guys can see we've got the front camera on, got the side view as well. And then as for the infotainment system, you've got these shortcut buttons here on the side. Response time with the system overall is actually pretty solid, and so I think it's a decent unit. Dual zone climate controls. We also have heated seats for the front, and then you guys can see the driveline select right next to that. We've got 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel high, and then 4-wheel low. Tons of controls down below. So blind spot monitoring, that's for your ECT power. Parking sensors, that is for the power sliding rear window, which I guess we can open that up right now. And then you got some like charging port action here. Speaking of charging ports, here you go. We've got a wireless phone charging pad, and then we've got some cup holders. And then we've got the shifter for that 6-speed automatic. It does have a manual shift function. You got some nice red accenting with it. You got a parking brake right next to it, and then some more storage space. And well, here's the center console. Some USBs inside of it. It's nice padding there. And while we're on the topic of storage, there's your glove box. You guys probably noticed with the dash, definitely still has that normal Toyota utilitarian design. Now, before we go over the fancy off-road tech, I do need to mention this does have a sunroof, and then we've got the controls for the sunroof just right there. Now, as for the fancy off-road tech, it does have a rear locking differential, and then you guys can see it has crawl control and multi-terrain select. So for multi-terrain select, you'd have to be in like 4-wheel low to use it, but basically the multi-terrain select is different off-road modes that'll change different settings in the truck depending on which mode you put it into. And then with the crawl control, it's kind of like off-road cruise control, and then this dial controls both things. So like if I do the multi-terrain select, then I do the dial to change the modes. If I do the crawl control, I do the dial to change the speed. Now here's our window sticker for this TRD Pro, and notice that Toyota is going hard on the TRD Pro stuff because they used to have the TRD Pro content at the bottom, but now it's at the top of the standard equipment because they're like, we want you to know, TRD Pro. But anyways, you can see the base MSRP $49,390, got some options, total MSRP $51,887. Let's take it back to its parking space. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors just do have blind spot monitoring. Then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. Okay, so we are setting off on our test drive of sorts here in this Tacoma. We're just taking it back to its parking space. You know, eventually maybe we'll be back in a market where there are more vehicles on the lot. Because I remember, you know, just a couple years ago, I was able to basically just go out onto, like at this dealership in particular, go onto the lot, and there was like a couple of TRD Pros, Tacoma, 4Runner, all that kind of stuff. They were just, they're not pre-sold already. So it's crazy how fast times have changed. But squishy suspension. That's one thing I do like about the TRD Pros is those Fox shocks are really good at just making the suspension super comfortable. The platform's already really solid, but the Fox shocks kind of just add to how this feels overall. Now, my only complaint with the TRD Pro, and this just goes to the Tacoma in general, is the powertrain. Frankly, it's very reliable, but when you compare this to the 4Runner's powertrain, it's just not nearly as good. The 4Runner has a 4-liter V6 naturally aspirated and a 5-speed automatic, which sounds like it wouldn't be as good as this because it's not as modern, but the 5-speed and that 4.0 are great, like really good torque, really good on the highway and everything. This, it gear hunts on the highway, and in off-road conditions, because I have taken a 2022 Tacoma TRD Pro, which has the same suspension upgrades as this, it struggles a little bit, especially at higher elevations. So, you know, we are apparently going to have a turbocharged Tacoma in the near future. We'll see exactly what happens. But as it stands right now, I still think this is a really cool vehicle. And I mean, like, Toyota has no issue selling these Tacomas. They're sold out because, again, they're super dependable, and people look past the, I guess, the performance metrics because of how dependable these are. Let me know what you guys think about this new TRD Pro, especially considering the upgrades. I didn't really go around that too much in the mock run, but for 2022, they basically lifted the truck slightly, changed the suspension setup and everything a little bit, and that carries over to 2023 as well. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this TRD Pro. Again, a huge shout out and link to the large mailer Toyota here in Murray, Utah, for giving me some time with this TRD Pro. Check out the info in the description down below. Ask for Mitch if you have any questions. I'll see you.